That's not what I ordered. They messed up the kit. That's the watercolor kit. What the hell is this?
Last year, I ordered the acryla gouache art kit from Mossery and CBD Mini, but received the watercolor art kit instead. Mossery allowed me to keep the Holbein watercolors. Are they any good? Let's investigate. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Iris, and after this very dramatic intro, you know that today we are going to review the Holbein watercolors along with the Mossery watercolor sketchbook I received by mistake 1 year ago. If you want to see the original unboxing video where this mix-up happened, you can click on the banner that appears on the top right corner. So, I received a set of 8 Holbein watercolors: Burnt Umber, Gouache Nova, Vermilion, Quinacridone, Violet, Indigo, Ultramarine Deep, Cobalt Turquoise Light, and Terre Verte. At the top of the watercolors, you can see the swatching I did and all the art supplies that come with the Mossery watercolor art kit. Okay, let's start our tests. First, we need a quick drawing. Good! I did a very simple drawing inspired by 2 pictures found on Pinterest. I wanted something simple with a color palette that would help me use all the watercolors I received. Note that I was not looking for accuracy in my drawing, it's only an excuse to test the watercolors. The first step in my process was to wet the whole surface and then apply a first very diluted layer of Gouache Nova all over to have a warm underpaint. Then I mixed Vermilion, Gouache Nova, and Ultramarine Deep to get the skin tone color that I wanted. If you notice, I left on purpose the footage of the color mixes on the palette so you can follow along if you wish. For example, now you can see that I used a bit of Ultramarine Deep, very watered down with the skin tone that I already mixed previously to start adding light shadows. Now, with the Gouache Nova, I'm painting the local color of the sunflowers that I drew. Then, I took the Schmincke masking fluid that came with the kit to preserve some parts of the drawing. Just to let you know, after 1 year of usage, I can tell you that this became my favorite masking fluid. It's really good. I took burnt umber to do the base color of the hair. The girl I'm painting is supposed to be a red hair, so I decided to start with burnt umber as this color has a reddish undertone. I use it for the center of the sunflower as well. To get a cooler dark brown, I mixed the burnt umber with ultramarine deep. As you can see, the reddish tone of the burnt umber has been neutralized and the value is darker. With this color, I was able to add more details. I went back to pure burnt umber to paint the bottom left side. I had not planned anything in particular for this side and first thought I would put more hair, However, as you will see later, I changed my mind and I completely changed the color. Going back to the skin, I used a small amount of diluted terre verte on the cheeks and under the eyes, as skin is constituted of many colors and the girl in the picture I used as a reference had a lot of green within her skin. I then used terre verte, but this time undiluted, for the leaves of the sunflowers. Now going back to the skin, I'm using vermilion to give more life to the skin, especially on the nose, lips, and ears, where the blood flow is more important. I was very surprised of the vibrancy of the vermilion and did not expect it to be so red. Luckily, you will see that it ended up blending in beautifully later on. I also started adding vermilion to the hair to give a more pronounced red tint. Now, I'm using ultramarine deep for the irises and for some shadows, especially because blue shadows look good in contrast with all the warm tones that I'm using on this piece. And now I'm mixing again burnt umber with ultramarine deep to get that dark brownish color I already mentioned and to neutralize the red tone of the burnt umber. You didn't see it here, but I took Gambo Genova and put a bit of yellow on the skin to give more warmth. I then mixed vermilion and Gambo Genova on the sunflower to make the colors more vibrant. Now, I'm trying to fix the eye. I rushed the drawing because I was eager to start painting, and in the process, I made some drawing errors. So now I was trying to camouflage those mistakes. I can still see them, but this is just a training piece, so it's okay. Okay, now I started using quinacridone violet on the lips, on the shadows of the nose, around the eyes, on the neck, and on the hair. Adding this color to the air provides more nuance to the range of reds and helps add depth. Also, if you're following my videos, you know by now that I always add either pink or purple violet in all my paintings because I really like the effect that it gives. I think those are underrated colors in paintings. Okay, now I'm adding more of the burnt umber, ultramarine deep mix to get dark brown, and I'm deepening some parts of the hair because otherwise it would be too flat. I continue adding some details in the eyes and everything else. It's the dark values that are needed right now on this painting because it's kind of flat for now. And those dark values will help the whole painting come to life. So going back with the burnt umber, I am now adding the freckles. This really helped tie the whole painting because honestly, the skin was really patchy. I don't know if it's my watercolor technique that is lacking or if it's the paper or both, but this skin tone was really patchy and adding those freckles all over actually really helped the overall piece and made it feel more authentic. After removing some of the masking fluid, I'm adding layers of yellow to make things more vibrant. The skin, the sunflowers, etc. This whole painting has a very warm undertone right now. I tend to paint predominantly cool tone paintings, so it is nice to switch my habits. I now used a tiny amount of cobalt turquoise light, but I didn't use too much of it though. From now on, I started using indigo to do the details of the eye, the lashes, the mouth. I used it to emphasize all the shadows. I say it again and again, I love using indigo. It's one of my go-to colors. Also, this particular indigo is really nice. I have another one from Winsor Newton that is really good as well. So now I'm using both of them invariably. Adding indigo really helped to tie up the whole painting and make it look cohesive. Indeed, it deepened the shadows as it was really needed and also provided a contrast to the very warm color palette of the piece. And you can see that on the bottom left side, there is a void right there, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I decided to embrace that void and just apply indigo. I think this decision was a correct one as the painting looks better with it. In conclusion, what is my final take on the watercolors? First of all, the colors of the final piece are absolutely stunning. They're extremely vibrant, and 1 year later, this painting seems to jump out of the page each time I look at it. Holbein Watercolors became my favorite brand. I loved Schmincke watercolors and still love Schmincke, but I have to admit that Holbein Watercolors are definitely extremely high quality. I highly recommend them. However, I have mixed feelings regarding the Mossery Watercolor sketchbook. The paper warped quite a bit, and unfortunately, the skin tone was really patchy. As I told you, I don't know if it's the paper quality or my painting technique, but I'm not completely sold on it yet. I would say that the sketchbook performed well with acryla gouache, but for watercolor, I have seen better. However, since this is a small sketchbook and it's for study pieces and training, I would say it's okay and I will still use it with watercolors. So the Holbein watercolors were fantastic and the Mossery sketchbook is good, but it's not perfect. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. If you did, let me know by liking this video. It really helps me out. And if you want to see more of my creations, subscribe. I wish you a nice day, night, whatever the time you're watching this. If you're watching it until the end, thank you for watching.